Landing an internship at the law firm Clark & Partners was every law student's dream, except for Derek's. He saw his future not as a lawyer, but as an investigator solving crimes. Yet by a twist of fate, Derek became the fifth lucky intern due to two reasons. First, his friend Osip Yakovlev, a top student, unexpectedly got a failing grade in civil defense. And second, Jessica, his loyal friend from 11 years of schooling, got him into the spot. With her by his side, the real world of lawyers didn't seem so daunting. Derek spent the first 2 days wandering the prestigious office, which occupied an entire floor of a glamorous business center, hoping to be assigned a case where he could find hidden clues and help the team win another victory. On the morning of his third day, the secretary Dina approached Derek, sat him at a desk, and handed him a hefty package, a notebook, and a branded pen. "This needs to be delivered to Joshua Clark. Write down the address. He lives far away, so you'll go tomorrow. Check the train schedule to Rovesento. From there, it's a walk to the cottage area." "Why the hassle? Can't this be sent by email?" Derek asked. "Haven't they taught you anything about information security? Once it's on the internet, it's practically public. This involves attorney-client privilege. The respondent in this case is a big deal. And don't even think about showing up at Joshua's place early in the morning. He's a beast until noon. Give him the package, leave your number, and he'll call you when it's ready for pickup. Take a walk, enjoy the fresh air. Good luck." Dina sighed and left Derek alone with the heavy paper package. Derek stepped into the office corridor and grabbed Jessica by the arm. "Jessica, wait! Why is everyone looking at me like I'm terminally ill? What's going on? And who is this Joshua?" Derek demanded answers from his friend. "Shh! Don't yell. Joshua Clark is a legend. He's never lost a case. Then he suddenly disappeared from the public eye, stays at home, and only makes notes on existing cases," Jessica explained. "Oh, I see. I thought he was some sort of criminal kingpin," Derek laughed. "Don't get too relaxed. Do you know why no one wants to go to him? They say his glare can give anyone a heart attack." Jessica made a scary face. "It's just delivering papers. No big deal," Derek reassured her. "Well, you'll have plenty of time to think about it on the way there." "It's a half-day trip," Jessica smiled.
You and me, no need to speak. Water, stone, collision deep. One chance left.
Against the instructions, Derek decided to leave early so he could return to the city by evening. The first train stopping at Rovesento departed at 5:30. When his mom heard that Derek was going to see the top lawyer and beast who lived alone, she fried up some potato and cabbage pies. She was Russian, so their diet often included Russian dishes like fried potatoes, porridge, pies, and dumplings. On the platform at Rovesento, Derek shivered from the wind and cold, hugging his backpack with still warm pies, and headed out of the station. There were no buses to the cottage area, and Derek was already shaking from the cold. A man approached him and pulled a bottle from his bag, offering it to Derek. "Look at this. Healing tincture on 7 medicinal herbs. Special recipe. No cold can beat it. Also clears your mind. Take it. It's cheap," the man smiled. The bottle glistened with a green liquid and dull sparkles. Derek wasn't a fan of alcohol, but a little more, and his nose would turn into an icicle. Derek handed over the required amount and immediately opened the bottle. It burned his throat, but warmth spread through him instantly. Even the dreary station seemed charming, and the man looked handsome. "Oh, feeling the effect? It's very positive stuff," the man grinned. Just then, the bus arrived. 40 minutes later, Derek got off at a post marked cottage area. As Dina had explained, he had to follow a path through the woods and then along a field. The walk to the cottage village turned out to be quite far. To make matters worse, a nasty December rain began to fall. His jacket was getting soaked, and Derek regretted not bringing an umbrella. The path became slippery, and Derek fell a couple of times. Being wet made him feel even colder. When he finally saw the buildings in the distance, Derek was genuinely relieved, knowing he could soon dry off and rest. But he had completely forgotten that Joshua didn't let couriers inside his house. The recluse lawyer's house was on the edge of the village, a gloomy structure clad in dark stone with chimney pipes jutting out like the spires of a medieval castle. Putting on the most serious face he could, Derek pressed the intercom button on the fence. No one answered. He waited a bit and pressed again. A few minutes later, there was a rustling in the speaker, followed by a barking cough, and a gruff voice snapped. "Who?" "From the law firm, with a package," Derek replied importantly, relieved that someone was home. "What brought you here so early?" "Wait," barked the voice from the intercom. Derek was already freezing. The gates opened, and Derek eagerly headed toward the warmth of the house, sprinted up the steps, and stumbled upon the intense gaze of eyes as dark as the abyss. "The package," the man extended his hand. "Hello, may I come in? It's really cold and wet out here." Derek smiled. His chubby face usually endeared people to him. "You're wasting my time." The man showed that he was only interested in the package. "The package is in my backpack, and I think it's frozen to my back. My hands are numb. I can't even unzip it," Derek complained, hoping to be let inside. "Fine," the owner grudgingly said through clenched teeth. "Come in." In the spacious hallway, Derek dropped his backpack on the floor, and a small puddle immediately formed on the black marble, merging with the water from his boots. Derek took out the package of documents and handed it to the man. "Here you go. It's a good thing I put it in the package, otherwise it would have gotten soaked." "What's that smell from your backpack?" Joshua asked, taking the package. "It's pies. They're tasty, by the way. Want one? They've cooled down, but you can reheat them," Derek smiled. "No, thanks," Joshua grimaced in disgust. "You're missing out. My mom made them. Can I have some tea? I'm frozen to the bone." Derek smiled again. Joshua gave him an icy look, scanning him as if with a laser. Derek picked up his backpack to leave, but then he heard, "Fine. You can stay while I review the case materials. Hang your jacket on the radiator. Put the shoe dryers in your boots. They're under the coat rack. The kettle's in the kitchen." With that, he disappeared deeper into the house, leaving the uninvited guest to fend for himself. Derek cheerfully kicked off his wet boots and jacket and headed in the direction he assumed the kitchen was. He was right. It turned out to be a large room with gleaming chrome, an island in the middle, a real fireplace, and a black leather sofa with a low table in the corner. Left to his own devices, Derek filled the kettle and, while it boiled, wandered along the shelves that lined an entire wall. Joshua clearly had an impressive library. One shelf was dedicated to law books, and on the top shelf sat a peculiar box. The kettle clicked off, and Derek started searching the cabinets for tea and cups, which he quickly found. He placed the pies in the microwave. "Getting comfortable, I see." Joshua materialized silently at the kitchen door. He was dry, wiry, with a narrow, expressionless face. Only his black eyes glinted like molten tar under his brows. His aura of cold hostility could have unsettled anyone. But Derek ignored the negative vibes and asked, "Would you like some tea?" "I don't drink tea," Joshua coughed and turned away. "I have a medicinal balm. If you add it to tea, it'll cure your illness instantly. You'll see." Derek set out 2 identical cups on the counter and began pouring tea. "Maybe it's worth a try. What's that smell?" Joshua sniffed the air. "It's the pies. I reheated them. Help yourself. And here's the balm for the tea." Derek pulled out the bottle. In the light, the emerald liquid looked thick and oily. "What kind of poison is this?" Joshua furrowed his brows, making his face even more intimidating. "It's not poison," Derek protested earnestly. "It's a herbal tincture. You'll see, it'll take away that cough in no time." Derek opened the bottle. Joshua moved it closer, cautiously sniffed, and then added a few drops to his cup. He took a sip, then another. "Not bad," the host said, and finally a smile appeared on his grim face. "Try a pie. They're amazing." Derek grabbed one from the plate and started eating with gusto. "Where did you get this tincture?" Joshua asked, taking a bite of the pie. "My grandma made it. I always carry it with me in case I get cold," Derek said, putting on his most honest face. Joshua finished his tea and stood up, saying, "All right, I'll be in my study. Stay quiet, not a sound." It was already dark outside. Derek finished the pies and, feeling bored, began looking at the books on the shelves. Amid the many biographies and collected works, one stood out with a new binding but no title. Derek's curiosity got the better of him, and he pulled it out. It turned out to be a photo album. As he opened it, photos spilled out. Derek quickly dropped to his knees and started gathering them. In some, he saw a younger Joshua, with a charming woman and a chubby toddler. In others, the woman was alone, looking sad. Many photos featured the child, in a winter suit on skis, climbing a tree, at school, by the sea, at graduation. Derek hurriedly stuffed the photos back into the album, but one slipped under the sofa. He had to struggle to retrieve it. He stared at the picture. A very handsome young man, about 18, athletic, tall, with a confident gaze and light hair. "What are you doing?" came a voice from behind him. Joshua was clearly furious. It was an accident. I tried to grab a book, and it fell." Derek shrugged apologetically. "Is this your son? He's handsome," Derek asked, pointing to the photo. "Give it here. Your lack of respect is unbelievable. I'm done. Take the case and get out." Joshua yanked the photo from Derek's fingers and grabbed the album from the couch. His face regained its cold, impenetrable look. Derek ran to the hallway, shoved his feet into his boots, stuffed the folder with documents into his backpack, threw on his jacket, and stepped outside. "Goodbye. Get well soon," Derek mumbled. Getting to the bus stop in the dark was quite an adventure. Beyond the gates of the cottage community towards the forest, there wasn't a single streetlight. Derek imagined how his body would be found by foresters in the spring. Fortunately, a car pulled up, and a kind woman gave him a lift to the train station, which Derek was very grateful for. On the warm train, Derek started pondering why Joshua had reacted so painfully to the question about his son. The woman in the photo was clearly his wife, but there were no signs of a female presence in the house. Maybe they died tragically, and that's why Joshua lives alone now, Derek thought, staring out the dark window. The next morning, Derek handed the folder to Dina and reported on his trip. Later, Derek heard the staff discussing Joshua's brilliant ideas, and someone said the case could be considered won. Derek tried to learn more about Joshua's personal life, but everyone avoided the topic and told him to mind his own business. But Derek wasn't one to give up easily. He searched the internet for any information but found nothing, so he approached the secretary. "Dina, here are your favorite pastries, gluten and lactose-free, just how you like them." Derek slid a fancy box from a trendy bakery towards her. "Tempter." "All right, let's have a quick coffee before the boss arrives." Pastries and an admiring look can sometimes loosen tongues, and within half an hour, Derek learned that Joshua had separated from his wife. She stayed in their city apartment while he moved out of town. They had a son named Vasily, but 2 years ago, something dark happened, causing the family to fall apart. Dina didn't know more, but that small piece of information was enough for Derek to start unraveling the mystery.
You and me, no need to speak.
Thanks to an investigation, supported by Jessica and her brother, a young computer genius, Derek discovered that Joshua's son had dropped out of law school 2 years ago and disappeared. However, through the social media profiles of his friends, Derek traced Vasily, who was now using his mother's last name and studying sound engineering at a humanities university while performing in a rock band called Digital Leopard. This magical trail led curious Derek to an unusual community, and soon he had Vasily's phone number, email address, and information that both simplified and complicated the matter. Watching videos of the rock band's performances, it was hard to recognize the gentle young man from the photo in Joshua's house, now clad in bold outfits, with a brow piercing and a neck tattoo. It became clear why Joshua reacted so painfully to the question. Instead of the legal career imposed by his father, Vasily chose music. A more delicate detail revealed during the investigation suggested another potential reason for the conflict. But Derek decided to see this through to the end. The place Derek found himself in, thanks to his friend Phil, wasn't open to everyone. It wasn't about the face control, but the secrecy. Dim lighting, music, a dance floor, a bar counter. It seemed like an ordinary bar, except most of the patrons were men. "There he is, I think." Phil nodded toward the entrance where 2 newcomers were warmly greeting some of the guests. "Can you introduce me?" Derek was nervous. What he planned could have any outcome, including a fistfight. "Hold on, let him greet everyone first," Phil replied. Derek observed Joshua's son, tall, with hair too black to be natural, dressed provocatively, not unusual in this place. But overall, Derek liked him. Slender and graceful, Vasily threw his head back beautifully when he laughed. He wasn't too muscular, but had defined shoulders, long legs, and a neat, toned backside. Exactly the type Derek had fantasized about. But what chance did an ordinary guy like him have of catching the attention of someone as attractive as Vasily? Still, Derek had more pressing matters to focus on right now.
You and me, no need to speak. Water, stone, collision deep. One chance, love, that's all we get. Moments precious, let's not fret. 'Cause ain't nothing part they must. River banks and love they trust. Without bounds, there's no true joy. Love and sorrow they employ. Just a moment, all we need. Hearts in sync, no words to plead. In the silence we are whole. Feel the love that fills our soul.
All right, let's go. Phil stood up and motioned for Derek to follow him. The evening flew by in a blur. The guys Phil introduced him to were friendly and quickly welcomed them into their circle. They chatted about upcoming cons, rehearsal spaces, and mutual acquaintances, while Derek couldn't take his eyes off Vasily. Vasily noticed the interest and wasn't surprised. Derek caught up to him by the restroom. "Wait, Vasily!" Derek called, choosing his words carefully. "I'm waiting," Vasily replied, holding back a smile. "I need to talk to you. Can we go outside?" Derek asked. "There's a place to talk here." "You're cute, but I'm not ready for anything too fast," Vasily smiled. "That's not what I meant. Let's go somewhere quieter. Promise you'll listen until I'm done, okay?" Derek said. Vasily nodded, and they headed outside together. "I work at your father's firm. He doesn't know anything about this. It's my initiative. Remember, you promised to listen." Derek blocked Vasily's path and continued. "He's very sick right now and really upset about your fight." Derek tried to elicit sympathy. "I doubt he confided in you," Vasily replied skeptically. "I just know. You need to see him before it's too late," Derek added with a hint of tragedy in his voice. Vasily took a few drags of his cigarette, tossed it in the bin, and looked up at the night sky. "Is it really that serious?" Vasily asked. "I'm afraid so," Derek answered. "Do you think he wants to see me after calling me a dirty pervert?" Vasily questioned. "You won't know until you try, but you'll regret it forever if you don't," Derek said honestly. "I swore I'd never set foot in his house again. Even if I had to die in the street, I wouldn't go to him. But if it's that bad, I should visit him." Vasily mentally prepared himself for the conversation with his father. "Do you want me to go with you?" Derek offered. "I have a concert next week and a project to submit at university. Will you help?" Vasily asked hopefully. Derek couldn't refuse those incredibly beautiful eyes. He helped Vasily write the project, gather information, print it, and even treated him to tea. They went on a date and walked in the park. It turned out they had a lot to talk about and loved the same music. A week later, a taxi pulled up to the entrance of the gated community. They got out and headed towards Joshua's house at the far end. The closer they got, the more Derek's knees trembled. Why did he get himself into this mess? What had gotten into him? Clearly nothing good would come of this, and he'd end up with nothing but bruises. But there was no turning back now, and here he was, pressing the button on the video intercom. This time they arrived later, and Joshua was clearly expecting them. He didn't even ask who it was. He immediately opened the gate with a remote. Derek went in first, and Joshua, who had stepped out onto the porch, didn't see Vasily right away behind Derek's broad back. Only when Derek stepped aside did Joshua look up and freeze like a stone statue. Derek's heart sank into his stomach. He felt like Joshua was about to throw them both down the steps. Vasily stood with an inscrutable expression, biting his lips. A disaster seemed imminent. But suddenly something changed, like a warm breeze blowing in. Joshua's face softened, and he stepped forward and said, "Good to see you, son." Then he pulled Vasily into an embrace. They went inside, leaving Derek outside. He stood there for a moment, then quietly walked back to the gate. He didn't want to intrude. The two clearly had a lot to talk about. Derek didn't even notice the cold as he walked to the bus stop and waited for the bus. He had a strange feeling that he had found and lost a treasure. But his heart was still warm, and it warmed even more when, 2 hours later, as he was approaching the train station, he saw a message on his phone from Vasily. "Looks like I'll be staying here for the holidays. Can we meet up in the city? I want to thank you." At the company party on December 30th, it was noisy and fun. The company had much to be proud of that year. The only thing casting a shadow over the festivities was the upcoming court case, which promised to be quite challenging. The first toasts had been made, employees were relaxing, and some were dancing. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room, and all heads turned towards the entrance. There stood Joshua in person, in a perfectly fitting black suit, with a tie matching his shirt, and a spark in his eye. He approached the table where the management was seated, shook everyone's hand, and wished them success in the coming year. He also announced that he would be taking an active role in the upcoming court proceedings. The interns were also invited to the party, but Derek was not among those present. At that time, he was passionately exploring Vasily's lips in a more intimate setting. Thus began the romantic relationship between the law intern and the rock musician. Two people with completely different personalities found each other in this beautiful world, kept their love away from prying eyes, trusted each other, and loved deeply.
Silent pier waits for me, waves crash soft and free. Lips whisper secrets sweet, hands hold hearts in beat. No words, just you and I, underneath the open sky. Water stormy and blend, our love it has no end. Tell me with a kiss, tell me what I miss. Tell me with hands so true, I miss you, miss you. Moonlight on the shore, need not say more. Your touch says it all, catch me if I fall. Night dances slow, feel the love grow. Sunrise on my skin, here our story begins. No need for words to say, together we'll find our way. With every touch I see your love, it's all I need. No words, just you and I, underneath the open sky. Water stormy and blend, our love it has no end. Tell me with a kiss, tell me what I miss. Tell me with hands so true, I miss you, miss you. Moonlight on the shore, need not say more. Your touch says I miss you. Ooh. No need for words to say, together we'll find our way. With every touch I see your love, it's all I